Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Calm Mind podcast, the show about life's transitions. I'm Ellie, and my co host is Pamela.
Hey
So, Pam,
everyone.
what are we talking about today, Pam? What do we need to keep a calm mind about?
Well, transitioning between friendships and relationships, either letting go or getting new ones.
I've noticed as I've aged that my friendships have changed. It feels like friends have drifted away. Now, I don't know that they've drifted away or I've drifted away or what's happened? What's your experience?
All of the above, Ellie, as we transition from life, different areas that we go through. Sometimes we lose some, sometimes we gain some, but it has something to do with meaning of friendships. It's like when we're younger, we have way more relationships. They might not be as meaningful as at the stage in my life right now where I have fewer friends but have more substance. So my experience has been just kind of evaporating some friends, relationships, I could say, but and like finding meaningful ones that are worth hanging on to.
Yeah, well, friendships have always been a bit of a challenge for me, although I have to say I do feel pretty fortunate. I've kept some great friends for decades, so I'm quite happy about that. And one of those friends includes you.
Thank you.
Um, Living in a foreign country right now, it's friendship is this wall that I need to try to climb up, and I'm a little bit reluctant to do that.
The Great Wall of China.
Yes, like the Great Wall of China.
Okay.
So that experience of feeling like friends have drifted and being in my situation, uh, being in a foreign country, it's frankly lonely. I can't believe that I'm alone in my loneliness. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, earlier you and I were talking about friendships, and I had mentioned that I think we're designed to be in communities. I mean, that's just the nature of a human nature that we're not supposed to be alone and in the wilderness, even though our ancestors did that. But our lives are much more healthier and meaningful when we share. In fact, based on research, I was mentioning to you that, in blue zones where people live past 100, they're all in relationships and in communities. So they do things together. And I think that makes our life a little more meaningful and adventurous, and it adds more depth into it in every way. It heals our minds, and it takes care of our body as well. So I think we need to be around each other. We need to have friendships. We need to have relationships. And with that said, I think things change when we're younger. It's just all about quantity over quality. It's just about friendships and relationships that are on the surface. But as we age, somehow based on our life, what we're going through, the level, the period that we are going through, we need more friends that have depth. So that's what I'm experiencing. That now, with my friendships, the relationships that I'm having and holding are a little more meaningful than they were when I was younger.
Quality over quantity. As for humans needing each other, that was breaking news to me. I didn't know that until I hit my 40s. I
Mm.
was not at all sold on the fact that we need community. I am now, but that didn't come to me for quite a while. So that wasn't intuitive for me. But certainly as a coach, I have to preach community. It's absolutely important, but I also identify as somebody who really struggles with that. It doesn't come naturally. It's something I've had to learn. And even though I know it's important, I still struggle with it.
Yeah.
But I think
So,
you've made the point.
what did I make a point of?
that our larger point is that friendships are vital. They're meaningful. They're what
Mhm.
everyone deserves to have.
Mhm. Just makes our lives more, I don't know, colorful with more texture and more sounds coming out of our life.
Well, we're
So,
not meant to be alone.
yeah, so why would one want to punish themselves? But
Well,
it's over herself that she didn't want to dealing with another person's behavior. And so same thing with relationships, like it's so easy to like lock yourself in a room and isolate yourself because then you don't have to deal with someone saying something to hurt your feelings or not treating you in a certain way or not reaching your expectations. So you keep yourself safe by not being in a relationship with other people. But then it's like, how many days in a row can you do the same thing over and over?
percent. That's exactly right. Yeah. I remember when I got out of a very bad relationship and I started doing a lot of recovery work, I thought I had figured it all out. The answer is don't be in any relationships. I figured it out.
Mhm.
And then I later understood that that's like the first phase of recovery and figuring things out. Like, no, that's not the answer. But it certainly feels good to not be triggered constantly. The trick is working through those triggers to where you can be a calm, happy person around others. Like you'd be happy around a cat or a dog. We don't
Yeah,
blame cats or dogs for we don't feel awkward around a cat or a dog. We do around humans.
unless you're scared of them, that like the cat or the dog will attack you, like how you would be from a human being, like, oh, they're
Yeah,
gonna fall short. So it's all in our mind, right? Like the stories we tell ourselves, like to have our guard up because we've been hurt before or something didn't go the way we want it to be or we were hurt by a friend. So we think like going forward, everyone's gonna do the same thing to us.
right. And we're quite different. You wear a black turtleneck, I wear a white turtleneck. It's obvious.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, I'm more reluctant. I've got my clipboard and I'm kind of keeping score with people. This person hasn't texted me or reached out in a while. I think maybe I should just stop talking to them, which, as I'm talking about, it sounds ridiculous, but that does go through my head. Whereas you're quite different.
That this again, going back to the stories our minds make, of anything. It's like, they don't like me, they're rejecting me, I'm not important to them, I'm not priority, or they don't enjoy my friendship, they don't enjoy my company. And then you dig yourself this hole and you just go into this dark thoughts. And then, I mean, what good is that to you? But then you can choose. Maybe that's where you're saying that I'm different. I think we're the same, but I just choose to not be rejected that way. I choose to determine my own kind of friendship happiness and control the situation. Every friendship, every relationship, it's like a two-sided, everyone has to give in their own way. And then sometimes you take a little more and sometimes you give a little more, and that's okay because it's a nice exchange. And then eventually we appreciate each other for each other's gifts. And then we just make it work. If that meaning friendship or that relationship is meaningful or it's valuable. At the end of the day, it's about not tolerating anyone or anything, but celebrating each other. So I see it that way. And that allows me to not count or keep a board that you're talking about.
That's very good. Very good, Pam. So for you, even though you're so healthy in this department, I mean, surely you've had an experience feeling like your friendships have drifted away in midlife. I mean, you're a mom, you're a wife, you care for your parents. I mean,
Yeah.
what has been your experience with friends drifting away, whether you think they did it or you don't know?
Well, few experiences. Like, I remember when I became a mom. was tough because, I had friends who were either single or they were like the party friends and or friends that just didn't have kids. Became a mom. So my child was my most important thing that I had to take care of. So I had some friends who expressed like, "Oh, you don't call us back anymore. You never check your messages," or vice versa. I lost friends because I no longer had the to offer them what they needed or what they had gotten from me prior to that, which is like my full attention, or I was their like dinner friend or their dancing friend or so on. So my priorities changed. So I either lost friends or they thought they had lost a friend. And then also I had experiences like work changing, so like let's say you have a coworker that you're friends with, but then they change their job. And then somehow, because you're not seeing each other every day in each other's face, that you think like that person no longer likes you or doesn't have an interest in you, but it's just like that the place has changed. So few incidences like that, I would say, as an example of changes in friendship or the tone of our friendship. Did you have any
Mm.
experiences?
Yeah,
Similar?
I mean,
Different?
right now, since I live abroad and I've taken on this role that I've never had before of basically I'm a housewife right now, a housewife at 50. And it's quite different for me. All my friends had kids, I didn't, or they didn't all have kids, but I was on the opposite side of what you were just talking about. Like I didn't have
Mm,
kids, and so I would still I'm thinking of one particular friend who she had 2 kids, and I would go hang out with her and her mom friends
mm.
and her kids' kid friends, and I felt like a weirdo, but I always feel like a weirdo. So, yeah, but I just rolled with it. I still enjoyed spending time with her, and watching her kids grow up was pretty fun too.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of mental effort to think about, "Should I reach out to people?" Asking people if they wanna Zoom
Mm,
post-pandemic. I figure they're probably sick of Zooming.
mm.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of intentionality that it just doesn't come naturally for me, but it's really a topic worth looking at because I think friendships are vital. I mean, I'm a married woman now, I'm a housewife, I have a stepdaughter, I have this role that I've never had before, but it certainly isn't all of who I am, and
Mm.
I don't wanna limit myself unnecessarily if I don't have to, which I don't have to, but I do. So, yeah, that's my situation. Um, so what do you think is, something we like to do here in our podcast is to offer practical ideas to play with, you know, it kind of falls into a clever three-step process, but we don't have to be that clever, but, you know, just basically step 1, what step 1,
Well,
what
I
would
mean,
you
it
think?
all
Yeah,
go.
so yeah, it's challenging. What would you say is something a woman could do if she's like, "Yeah, I do feel like my friendships have kind of drifted away." Like, what can she do about that?
I mean, it all goes back to what do you want? Does what do you want? What is gonna make you happier? What are you after? Because it's like, it's all about, even in coaching. If you're a client of mine, it's all about like reaching to a solution, right? So in a solution, drawing a map, it starts from what do I want? So if it's a matter of like making new friends or mending old friendships, and then looking into prioritizing things. So it's like, what do I want? And then with this package, I would say a couple of other steps. underneath this umbrella is, with every thing we exchange, with every friendship or relationship, or even like in sales, it's like supply and demand. And then it's about like, what am I selling and what am I getting in return? Or what am I buying? So, um, what do I want? What do I have to offer to someone as a friend? And then what do I want from that person offer to me? So maybe like really like pinning down at this age, asking me to hold, what do I want from friendships? What are my values? What are my priorities? And perhaps what will I tolerate and what will I not? So these are like just few questions being thrown around, and this is all under. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
well, it's interesting as you're talking about it because I think about that sort of the benefits or the beauty of hitting midlife is that we have all this experience so we can kind of sift through
Mm.
it. Whereas speaking for myself, when I was younger, I didn't think friendships were something I could control. They just happened at me, and either it was good or it's bad. I don't know. Kind of a kind of a victim in the whole thing, without meaning to be. But yeah, you can absolutely reflect and think about, well, what do I even want in a friendship? I have lived abroad before, and you can either surround yourself with people who hate the country you live in and live in sort of like a cultural ghetto together,
Hmm.
or you can be intentional and not do that. Although I think I'm kind of showing my age. I think as a Gen Xer, we had some weird ideas about cultural identity that the younger people don't have. The younger people. Anyway, that's kind of off topic. But the point is that you can be intentional. That's something you can do. What would you say the step two in all this is?
Well, um, I think, what do I want? What are my intentions, or like all that stuff that I mentioned. And then step two is that thinking, what did we say step two was earlier
I
when we
think
were
we were
talking about
talking
this?
about it in terms of boundaries.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I
I
know what I
mentioned that.
want.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
that.
that's that.
So like you mentioned, what am I able and willing to give and accept and tolerate or not tolerate, and what I have to offer, and what do I want in return, sort of. Because like when we were young, I remember I had a phone book full of phone numbers. And they're all my friends. But now I'm just finding such peace in like having a handful of true good friends that I can rely on, count on, and just share and hold. And I love that. I love that I don't need to be that younger version of me of feeling like success in a phone book full of phone numbers. Now I find success in these few friends that I have, like the number of years that we've been together, and the number of challenges that we've been through together and all that stuff. So with that said, it's like, again, going back to what I want and what do I have to offer. Before, I would just say yes to everyone and anything. But now it's like, I know my boundaries. I know that if a certain person that I'm getting close to, for example, is a certain way or does so, that's what I
Mhm.
mean when I'm saying, uh, in the step two, like, what can I offer? What can I receive? And what am I able to tolerate and not?
Well, I like what you said about understanding that maybe in the past you have a tendency of overgiving, and then
Mhm.
I took it to mean maybe feeling a bit drained by the friendship. And so now that you've had that experience enough, you know your boundary. No, if I start to feel that way, or if somebody starts putting pressure on me like that, I can pull away.
And not
Um,
even like expectations too. I think that so much times we expect things from friends or people, and if they don't meet that expectation, it disappoints us. And then therefore, we don't see them the same way. So, letting go of that, of and being in a relationship that I feel comfortable in, where people can fall short of these expectations I have in my mind, these stories, and then I can still love them and accept them for who they are, not measuring their level of friendship, my love for them, by them coming short or not of the expectations that I've set for them.
I think
Sense?
that's called maturity.
So with this
Yeah.
maturity, yeah, I think the relationships are so much better now than they used to be before,
Yeah.
for
You can let
sure,
people
for
be
me
a
at least.
mess to a limit. So, okay, we have step one is self-reflect. What do I want? What do I have to
Mhm.
offer? What do I want to get? You're just being honest with yourself. And then step two is what are my boundaries? What can I put up with? What can I not put up with? What do I have time for, not have time for? And
Mhm.
then step three, we want to take some kind of action based on all the self-reflection and understanding our limits.
It's like a lot of times we internally know the step 1 and 2, but if we don't do the step 3, it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
Because
And that's where I
that's
think,
where would you
and that's the plug for coaching because that's the beauty of coaching because it is action oriented, but not in an annoying way. It's not like a, a drill sergeant. You know, when you have a coach, you can kind of air out all the weird thoughts in your head about why I'm not going to go make friends or why it's not a good idea to meet new people. You could kind of work through some of the old patterns or kind
so
of the
true.
weird ideas you have. And then you have somebody to have as your little accountability partner
So
to help
true.
you go do awkward things where you have to kind of relive your old thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. It makes a huge difference when someone's reflecting on your thoughts or your inner chaos, makes you realize through your words what you're really creating for yourself, the mindset.
Yeah. Like before we started recording, we were talking about this, and I noticed the excuses I was giving was like, I'm just very busy. I'm just so busy. And it's just like a classic red flag, oh, you're so busy. You can't spend maybe 3 hours out of a week trying to meet some new people. And I'm like, yep,
Well, to make you feel better, you're not the only one.
that's
Do that.
true.
Maybe
Yeah.
just like we just don't admit it, but that's like the first go-to thing, is to, like, when we to flight, we make up these excuses, right? With anything, procrastination, all of the above, we discipline our mind to think that way, to create other situations so that we have a reason not to do the hard work or put an
Mhm.
effort into things.
It's our safety, our personal
Yeah, for
safety.
sure. For sure.
If you're like me, if you're not like
Mm.
Pam, who just flows and makes friends easily, if you're a little more awkward and more of a hermit,
Well, I was mentioning to you, like, I remember during COVID, like, that was crazy, right? So, like, we suddenly the whole world went to lockdown and we were all asked to isolate. And then it was like, for someone like me who needs people to be, social and so on, I was like, huh? Does this mean I'm going to be alone and only see my husband and my daughter and my family occasionally? So I took actions. I made sure I kept my mind, my soul busy by not expecting people to reach out to me because everybody was scared too. So I made sure, like, my action was like, I'm going to call at least like two people a week and have a conversation with them on the phone. And so, similar to that, like, if you're asking me, I think it'd be cool to create some kind of a comfort action for anyone who's trying to be get out of the comfort zone of, like, meeting new friends, or to reach out to friends that a relationship that they've had before, to kind of like check it and see if it's worth making it grow. nourishing it, or just to like let go of it, close the case, you know? So my action plan would be to, create some non-negotiable, like you said, you're too busy, but anyone who has a intention, if there's a will, there's a way, to create, time zone. Like I give an hour a week, I give a day of the week, or certain a plan where you deliberately like sit yourself down and you reach out to people, or go places where you meet people, or contact X people, and via call, text, whatever, email. I have this philosophy of teaching people the way I want to be treated, to be vulnerable and just to reach out and check in and tell them you'd like to meet up or talk or whatever.
Be vulnerable.
One of my daughter's friends' moms that I knew from school, we had become friends, or good acquaintances. I mean, we were friends. She was coming to my house, our kids were playing, and I don't know, one day she just like reached out to me. She's like, "Are you mad at me?" I was like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" So, and I so appreciated that, because it was like a huge learning lesson for me, not because she, you know, but I love how she opened up, because that was her, like her intelligence of like being vulnerable. Like, hey, like I'm checking in. Is there something wrong? You haven't reached out to me? And I had no idea. I thought nothing was different because she was on my like top 10 friends list, you know? So it's like, and then I was like, I so appreciated her for that, because it made me aware of her presence. It made me aware that I am needed, or like, likes my company, or I mean, she's interested in me for whatever you want to take look at this. But yeah, I mean, I think that was a beautiful, vulnerable moment where she taught me to be a better person, and to use her example going forward with my relationships. Are you okay? I haven't talked to you. I really would love to talk to you. That doesn't change who I am. Doesn't make me look desperate, or that's like a beautiful thing, you know? It can have
Yeah.
two different outcomes. Good, I'll take it.
So the calm mind comes from being vulnerable and rolling with whatever comes of it.
Being raw, being true to yourself, doing things to people that you would want done to you, like, treating them the way you want to be treated. I think so much of our world right now is like go, 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 and then playing these games, even in the dating game, like don't be the first person to reach out, don't do this, don't do that. Like, who sets these rules? We want a community, we want friendships. So it's like building a savings account. You got to put into it if you want something in return. So
Ooh.
you got to make an
Friends are
effort.
like
And
savings accounts.
yeah, it's like if
Mhm.
you expect them to do things to you, you got to do the same back.
What if they're secretly annoyed with you and they don't really want to talk to you anymore?
Then they won't return your text, or they'll just, I think it's like, you got to follow your gut, right? But at the same time, you got to put in the effort first before you like, speak to the silence of, you know, I think it's very rare that everyone wants to be loved, So it's very rare when you express something to someone so sincere that they're gonna have reservations. And if they do, that's okay. Like I tell my daughter, not everyone's gonna love you.
Yeah,
No, you don't guess, right?
yeah. I'd say the vast majority of us prefer to be missed. It's nice to be missed. It's nice to have someone pay attention to you, even if they're annoying. But they're probably not. Your point about following your gut, I think it's a good one. It can be confusing because the gut can be confusing.
You feel it's like kind of like you feel someone's sincerity if it's really sincere or not. But I don't like guessing. So I rather like make the phone call, have them not return my call or tell me, give me the cold shoulder than like going through guessing of the do they like me, do they not like me, you know?
So what do you think? I have a friend who if I'm going to be completely honest, I've known her quite a while. I noticed that I've been the one that keeps sending the text and she'll respond. After a while, I just thought, well, maybe I shouldn't be constantly initiating. I'll sit back and wait for her to initiate, and she has not. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, I guess it's done then. I guess the friendship's over. But as we're having this conversation, I'm like, well, that might be a little extreme. It sounds like what you're saying is I have nothing to lose just to maybe say, hey, how's it going? I notice I'm always the one reaching out. What's going on? You think that's a reasonable thing to do? Is that honest enough?
Yeah, I think that's very responsible of you because you're taking care of yourself, but at the same time, like demanding or teaching her how to treat you. I think it is like when you reach out to someone all the time, they just get used to that. But if you do what you're saying and you're like, hey, I'm the one who's always reaching out, then you're kind of like giving them a hint. Should I be continuing doing this? Do you like this? Or should I stop? Or I would like it in return. So maybe it's a,
It's amazing to me that it didn't occur to me to be honest. I just thought, well, just stop contacting her. She's not interested. Doesn't matter. We've been friends for like 15 years. Just like, no, I could just be honest. I could just be direct. It's like, you never reach out. What's going on with that? I'm afraid it's too
yeah.
confrontational, but maybe it probably isn't. I've been on the receiving end of that too. I've had a friend say, you know, I keep reaching out. If you're not interested, maybe just let me know. I was like,
And
oh,
how
it
did
wasn't
that
the
make you
case.
feel?
It just didn't,
How did that
it
make
just
you
didn't
feel?
occur to me. I was like, oh,
There.
I am doing that. Yeah, it kind of woke me up. And I was
And did
surprised that
you
I wasn't the only one.
and did you continue calling that person back?
I was much
Okay,
better about it.
so it's the same thing. It's like they're so used to you calling them that it doesn't occur to them like, oh, maybe I should be the change once in a while. But like you said, your friend kind of brought it to your attention. It woke you up, and now you're better about it. Thing, even though sometimes one person gives more than the other, it's okay. It works out. That's fine. But we just and this works out in every relationship, like in my marriage, like sometimes I have friendship is not about going out and having fun or calling each other. It's about being able to be comfortable to share with each other your feelings. So it or
Mm.
what you're telling me is that this friend that you have doesn't reach out to you, the friendship is kind of almost non-existent until you call them, correct?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
if you were to come clean and tell her your feelings, what do you have to lose?
Yeah, I guess there's some pride there of just pride about what? If she's your friend or not.
Exactly. Like she'll either
Yeah.
become a better friend or she will remain the same.
Mm.
So, like, you haven't lost anything. You
Yeah.
have manned up to your own values, your own needs, and
Yes.
just goes back to teaching the people how to treat us. You own that to yourself.
Okay. So what's at risk if you don't take action? If you're somebody who feels like everyone's drifted away from me or I've drifted away from them, you know what? Screw it. I've got Netflix. So what? Forget it.
Well, it's the
What's at
risks.
risk?
Life could be dull. Um, or you could be like really comfortable and not care. I think this is a personal risk. It always goes back to why or what do I want? So, like, what do you want? Do you want to be alone? Do you want to not be in community? You don't want true, meaningful friendships? You want to have a friendship with Netflix only? Or do you want to have vibrant relationships and have beautiful experiences that you share with other human beings? The risk varies from person to person, but again, it's
Yeah.
proven. So don't want to be alone.
Yeah, I get the impression from you, Pam, that this is just part of, I mean, you're a self-identified extrovert.
Too much?
Although, although I don't know, I mean, you can still be extroverted and lonely. I guess I just want to put like a word out there for people who haven't had so many positive friendships in their lives, eh,
Hmm.
that it is possible. This is coming from a self-described introvert and someone who hasn't had, excuse me, a lot of great. I've had some great friendships. I've had some really terrible ones that I stayed in for a long time. And just saying that it is possible to work through these little quirks, and they are quirks. They're not deep moral failings. They're not like evidence that you're unfixable and that you're just not
Yeah.
cut out to be around other people. It really isn't. It's kind of a combination of learning a skill and kind of working through the muck of in your mind of some old patterns. And it is possible. It doesn't have to be open heart surgery. It's just like working out, which ugh. No, working out can be fun. It can.
Yeah, it's like working out. If you want your muscle to enlarge, you got to lift the dumbbell, right? It's the same thing. If you want relationships that are meaningful, you got to put an effort into it. And it could be uncomfortable for some people, like you're describing yourself that you're an introvert,
Yeah.
but and you have to put yourself in a uncomfortable situation. Uh, but but that's like, to me, I think when I see someone doing that with me, it's like it's beautiful because I feel like they're really putting an effort into our relationship. So coming from a crazy person who's an extrovert, and I appreciate that. It makes me want to be part of someone's life more when they do express these things, like the example of that mom that I was telling you. So
Yeah.
I think people appreciate it.
Yeah, the quality people that you wanna spend your time around will see it. The
Mhm.
ones that you
Yeah.
don't, won't.
Yeah, and then going back to the era we're in, our age, it's like at this age, it is what it is. So,
Yeah. So paint a picture of success for me, Pam. What would working through friendship awkwardness or feeling like everyone's drifted away feel like or look like?
well, I don't know what your success is, but for me, it's like knowing the what do I want and putting some kind of an action in place where I'm doing something about it that makes me feel good about it. To me, that's like being true to myself and to my needs and to my values, and having um, the right amount of respect for myself so I can have for others. That on the opposite side is that so many of us are so busy being friend, being in relationship, going, coming, we forget to spend time with ourselves. And that's another beautiful thing that we can talk about next time or another time, is like finding peace within us, that when there aren't any friends or there's not chaos or volume or a noise around us, that we find joy in ourselves, and ground ourselves in a way that we are okay being alone too, because that's like the whole polar opposite of the other, what we are just talking about, is not being alone. And then some people have
Mm,
problems with being alone. That's right.
well said.
But
Well
yeah,
said. So
but yeah,
solitude, not loneliness.
yes, yes, yes. So success, to wrap it up for me, is to like know what I want and have like a kind of
Mhm.
a clear plan for it.
I think it's balancing the having the self-reflective moment and thinking about what I want and then watching yourself go do hard things, watching yourself
Oh, yeah.
go make new friends and go through all that. It does trigger up some uncomfortable things, but it's got a lot of upsides, clearly.
It's
Yeah.
good to keep in mind that when you're in control, do not carry your past experiences into new ones. Don't think that
Oh,
just because so and so did this to you or this you had this experience, it's going to happen in every other relationship that you're going to be making. So,
that's a good point. That takes practice too, I think. It's the
yeah.
intentionally doing that. It's like, okay, stop it. It's not gonna happen again. Just enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
All
I'm
right.
glad
So
to
I
be
think
your friend, Ellie.
I'm glad you're my friend.
Thank you.
Mutual Admiration Society. All right. So I think we did it.
Yes, so keep a calm mind until we see you next time.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well done. All right. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone.